In 2015, Maggie Haberman joined the New York Times, where she became part of a team that won a Pulitzer Prize in 2018 for reporting on the investigation into Donald Trump's advisors and their connections to Russia. In her book, Confidence Man: The Making of Donald Trump and the Breaking of America, Haberman reveals a full understanding of the 45th president from researching hundreds of interviews, including Donald Trump. Maggie Haberman is joined in conversation by Laura Coates. Laura Coates is a CNN host and senior legal analyst. As a civil rights attorney, she traveled throughout the United States, supervising local and national elections, and led investigations into allegations of unconstitutional voting practices. She is the best-selling author of You Have the Right, A Constitutional Guide to Policing the Police. Recorded at the University of Louisville, Kentucky Author Forum, this is Great Conversations, Maggie Haberman and Laura Coates.
I am so excited to be here with the Kentucky Author Forum, and I know to have this great conversation, we are definitely going to talk about this book. But I think you probably know, in many respects, people want to talk about Maggie Haberman and understand you as the journalist you are. And why is it that in the truth-telling, fact-driven journalism that you do and that you provide, that Donald Trump seems to yearn, as so many others do, to get your take, to get your ear? So let's talk a little bit about you. Or really a lot about you, Maggie, because there is a misconception that somehow your career began when Donald Trump came down an escalator.
Well, that didn't happen. First of all, thank you for doing this. Thanks to our hosts. I'm really excited about this, and I'm really glad we were able to make this work tonight. And this set is incredible. So I've been a reporter for a long time. I started as a clerk at the New York Post in 1996. I covered Hillary Clinton's Senate race in 2000. I covered presidential races. I worked at Politico for 5 years before joining the Times. And I worked at the New York Daily News as well. I've covered Rudy Giuliani. I've covered Mike Bloomberg. I've covered a lot of political figures. I think that because Donald Trump sucks all the oxygen out of the room, I think that, I have become most closely associated with this story in my career. And my career will probably for a time be defined by this story, but it's not my whole career.
How do you feel about the fact that your name is often used in connection with Donald Trump, who really tries to use the press more broadly as his vehicle, as a conduit at times? It's the gift and a curse he loves to hate. And yet, for you in particular, you're often the person people think of for your bylines or otherwise. What's Maggie say to actually validate or prove what he has said?
I think that his focus on me, and which I think has contributed to other people's focus on me, is really an obsession with the New York Times. And when I say that, there's this look for a hidden, but what's it really about? That's really what it's about. He is uniquely obsessed with the New York Times. Yes, he knew me before I worked for the Times, because I worked for the tabloids, and then I covered him in 2011 when I was at Politico, and he was considering running for president, and he floated the birther lie about President Obama, suggesting he was illegitimate. And so, he has dealt with me for a while. But really, he's obsessed with the paper. And the paper for him represented sort of a form of he is media hungry, and he always has been. He is not a great businessman. What he is a great self-promoter. And so the Times was sort of the avatar of elite approval that he wanted. And I'm just the person who covers him more often. So I do think that's the main thing.
And yet you have been often referred to as the avatar of the consummate journalist. I mean, the New York Times, I know you're being very humble, and I know you, and it's very wonderful that you are as humble as you are. But I bet it's not just the New York Times that he craves in terms of their opinion and what to say. It's Maggie Haberman. And in an era that we are in right now, where I remember there's that phrase, in vino veritas, right? In wine, there is truth. Now it's on Twitter, there is truth. Oh, wait, I'm in Kentucky. In bourbon, there is truth. Hold on. Let me make sure I know where I am.
Very well done.
Bourbon, I don't know the Latin version of bourbon, but let's call it Bourbonnais.
Bourbonnais.
Okay, there you go.